Okay, good morning, everyone. Yes, I haven't been able, before I start, most of you should know from previous years, I try and give a projection for further than 23, 24. Unfortunately, Elizabeth, the boss of finance in RGB&I, left us in March. And since then, we have been given no information about the future whatsoever. So I've just concentrated on 23, 24 rather than mix things up and make things confusing. Okay. Okay, so today's program is a little bit just about what I do. Then we'll move on to the role of the club treasurers, which obviously is the main reason why I'm here. Payment of fees as and when they do, and how much they are. Where the money goes, that's district money and RGB&I money. There's a little bit on trust accounts, but I do have an expert behind me on those. Thank you, Steve Jenkins, as always. A little bit on RFUK donations, and then any questions at the end. Okay,
Nikki, just to let you know, do you want to increase the slide to the full screen, please?
I will try. Okay.
It's that little plug thing at the bottom. If you go to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And then go along and half, yeah, just there, and you can see the slider.
This one?
Yeah, that's the one. No, the one next to it. Sorry, there we are.
There we go. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Not very
No
technical
problem.
minded. Okay, so yeah, as Mary's already said, I'm Nikki and I'm a member of Hentless Rotary, and that is my email address there if you want to contact me. Okay, so my role is I'm classed as a senior district officer. Like Steve, myself and Steve are in place for 5 years, whereas the normal officers are in role for 1 year. That means I attend the district executive and the district council. I liaise with RGB&I about rules, policies and procedures, if they change, or making sure things are still in place. And as I said, I'm eligible to serve for up to 5 consecutive terms. I'm currently coming to the end of my 3rd year now. So if anyone's out there and they want to start learning, just give me a bell. I'm more than happy to help. Okay, so my responsibilities and duties. Obviously, I am in charge of the management of the district funds. Therefore, I deal with ensuring that all of the district fees come in from clubs and recording that information and reporting back to the district executive. There is an annual treasurer's handout, which I send out. It's twice a year, but it's in the same month. It's mid-June to prepare you, and then the end of June to save you emailing me telling me that you've lost the one from the middle of June. And I also prepare the annual accounts for the district for each year, excluding the Rotary Foundation, they're a separate entity. And I arrange for those to be independently verified. And as Steve said, they will then be part of the district council meeting, what we call number 1 of the year. I also then prepare the budget with the ready for district council number 2. Everybody says it's the district treasurer's job. It is, but I would prefer to work with the district governors on this rather than you tell them. At the end of the day, it's their year, they know what they want. And now and again, I need to pull the reins in, but not very often. We work together as a really strong team. I report quarterly on the finances at the district meetings. This one here, receiving club account certification forms. Now, the first year I had 2. The second year I had 5. This year I've had 14. So congratulations to the 14. Please, once you have given the club, once your club has passed your club's accounts, please, there is a form, but you can just email me. Just please let me know that that is done, because if RGB and I did actually decide to have a nose into the district, which they would be allowed to do, then I would get questioned as to why people can't, why I'm not tracing verifications of clubs. I will send a reminder out, but please, just a simple email. If you can't find the form, will be absolutely fine, but you should be doing it. You should be letting me know that it's been done. And then obviously I'm here this morning to give you this presentation at the District Assembly. Okay, so my year. On the 1st of July is when you are meant to pay over your district fees. They are remaining for my 3rd year at £27. And there is no invoice sent out. There wasn't ever invoices when I took over, and I was advised to keep it that way. When I send you the Treasurer's handout, that is your cue to get ready to make the payments, which is why I send it middle June and then the end of June, because they are due on the 1st of July. RGB and I often late, and they give you a little bit longer, but district don't. We are supposed to receive them on or as close to the 1st of July as possible, please. As I just mentioned, by the 31st of December, if clubs could let me know that they have had their club accounts verified by their club members. Then before the 31st of July, I'm meant to do the district annual accounts. Like I said, we tend to do them in District Council number 1. Otherwise, it would end up having the accounts and the budget in the same district, in the same district council meeting, which I don't think is very clever. It's not fair. It's information overload. It's not fair on the voting members. So that's why I do the accounts earlier to have them in number 1, and then the budget is in number 2. When I've done those accounts, I have to send, like you guys have to send me confirmation that I've had them, that they've been verified. I also have to verify to RGB and I that I have done the district accounts, and I have to do this by the 31st of March. And then the budget is due by the 1st of April. But again, we tend to do that early in around beginning of February to, so that's early as well. That is just, I know it's very, very small. I know you can't read it, but it's just to show you, I can move that. It's just to show you the form that I have to use to send back to RGB and I to prove that I have had the accounts audited. Okay, enough about me. Let's move on to yourselves. Okay, so this is your timeline. This is like your diary, your Bible. Okay, so currently at the moment, I know clubs are preparing their budget for 23-24. I have had a few emails, as I said. District subs are remaining unchanged for definite at £27 per member. That's for the whole year. Okay, in regards to RGB and I have had to declare that I'm not 100% sure yet because they haven't had their ABM. I have included in these slides, last year they said they were going to go up to £73, but I'm not prepared to put my name on that because they can change their mind until it's verified at their ABM. And I believe their ABM is next Thursday. I will obviously then send an email out to all treasurers letting you know. I'll send it to the presidents as well, just letting you know confirmation whether it's £73 or it's changed. Okay, in June, that's when Steve has already said, so I won't go on, but that's when you need to ensure that the RI and district databases are up to date for you to ensure that you get, that you pay the correct fees that are due in July to district and RGB&I. As I said, then in July, you pay the fees, the district fees, and as well as the RGB&I fees. And like I said, district fees is £27 for the full year. RGB&I is only 6 months at that point. And then they will invoice you again in January. I call it an invoice, it's actually a statement, it is. And then between November and December is when you get your accounts audited at Club and get them verified, and then you let me know, as I said, President, to confirm to the district treasurer that this has been done. Then in January, the second 6 months of the year fees to RGB&I are due. They are the 1st of January, but by the time they get them out, I think they give you till the 10th of February to pay them. Then in April, this is only if your club is registered with the Charity Commission, but that's the last month for filing financials with those. And then we're back to May then, where you are preparing your budget again. That's the form that is available for you to let me know that you've had your accounts audited and passed by the club. But as I said, a simple email will do me. I'm not precious because I'll just print the email out and it'll mean as much to me as the form. Okay, so your fees, as I've already said, it's the 1st of July and the 1st of January for your RGB&I fees. They give you until 10th of August and the 10th of February, respectively. District subs are, however, payable on the 1st of July. Now, as Steve has already mentioned, fortunately, I haven't had to do it yet. However, if they aren't paid by the 1st of September at the latest, then I do have to report that club to Steve and he will do the actions that he needs to. So say never needed to do it yet, but I'm obliged to give you that information. As I've already said, there will be no invoices coming out for your district fees. You know how many members that you have, so you pay £27 at the amount of members you have in your club on the 1st of July. Like I said, there will be the annual treasurer's handout sent out. It'll have all the dates of everything that is due, like the timeline we've just done. They will all be in the handout for you. Okay. And as I say, I always send this out via DMS. So if it's not up to date, then you either won't receive it or somebody else that is no longer treasurer could be receiving it instead. That is what the, excuse me, that is what the treasurer's handout looks like. As I say, I know it's a little bit squashed up, but you can see the dates, you can see the timelines, and everything is on there for you, including my name, address, and contact phone numbers. Okay, so as I said, the annual business meeting with RGB&I will decide upon the 23-24 fees are on the 18th. As I say, last year they said they were going to increase it by £3 per member up to 73. Last year we did pay 67. This year we've paid 70. And next year looks like we may be paying 73. So it's a £3 increase per member for the last 2 years. Oh, some people put 2 cheques in one envelope to me. Please send your RGB&I fees off to district, not myself, because even though I may get the 2 cheques, I have to send the one back, because one is obviously made out to the district bank account and the other one is made out to RGB&I. So I can't do anything with it, even if I wanted to. So please remember to make 2 separate payments and send them to 2 different places. As I said, if they do go along with the £73, it'll be £36.50 per member on the 1st of July, and then the same amount on the 1st of January. That is the statement. I know it looks old, but it's the only one that I can find that's not zero. So I've kept it over the years. When you log in, when you get the RGB&I statement, when you log in and they tell you this is how much you owe, this is what it would look like. So it's technically, it's not an invoice, it's just a statement. And when they email you to tell you that the statements are ready, there will be a link for you to go in and find it. I have also got a mini guide for club treasurers. So if there's any new treasurers amongst us, it's an electronic booklet. It's only 8 pages, but it doesn't waffle. So I found it quite useful when I first became club treasurer. So I'm not sure whether or not, I haven't been able to find this on the RGB&I website. I just found it in a Dropbox that I have direct from RGB&I for being district treasurer. And as I say, I found it very helpful. So if anyone would like that emailed over to them, please just drop me an email and I will happily send that over for you. As I said, I'll let you know how our money is spent. Okay, so like I said, district is £27, Rotary B&I is £73. So of the £73, they are saying this year, £5.43 of it will come back to district via our district grants. We get our district grants in quarterly. They're the same every quarter. But again, that £5.43 possibly could change if the £73 does. And then RGB&I have to pay RI £28.11 to Rotary International out of the £73 that they receive from us. So they get to sort of keep a third of it. Okay, so just a little bit about RGB&I's forecast for 23-24. They are envisaging 36,000 members at the £73. So I don't propose to read out every line here, but what you can see is that they are predicting a loss of over £200,000. Now, what the next slide will show you is that as they have done, implied that they're doing this year by only increasing our fees by £3, they are using their reserves. So there's quite a large argument out there that if RGB&I are using their reserves, then districts should obviously be using theirs. So that's where their loss comes from, because they're digging into their reserves to help clubs and not increase as high as they would have if COVID hadn't have happened. So that's the expenditure, that's where it comes from. Okay, that's what they're predicting. So they're predicting £225,000 that will come back out to us in form of our district grants. They plan on spending over 138,500 on training and team development, and I think Rotary View is part of that, and so on and so on. So that's how they are predicting. As I say, this is the point I usually have 24, 25 and even 25, 26, but it just hasn't been available for me this year. Okay, so the £73 for us to pay per person there's a breakdown there for you to see where our £73 is spent and where it goes. You can see the highest amount is Rotary International, followed by the insurance for us all. But you can see there, they are saying that they are using £5.60 per person of their reserves. Whether or not that will be required to happen, that's just what they're predicting. So what they're saying is if they didn't dig into their reserves, then by now our fees would probably be £78, £79. So they're probably asking for a pat on the back there for using their reserves. Okay, so the district subs, as I said, oh, excuse me, £27 per annum, and that was agreed within the Budget District Council on the 25th of February. I have to give you these dates, unfortunately. There's the district bank account details there for you, and anyone that doesn't do internet banking, you can still send checks. I must emphasize each year I send at least, and this is no exaggeration, 60% of checks back to clubs because they have put the wrong name on it. They've put on their RGB&I, they've put on their District 1150, and the bank just will not accept them. Lloyds are very, very fussy, have to send them back to the clubs. By the time then the club treasurer goes back to the club and asks permission to spend the money again, I'm getting the money in sort of late August. So if you can't send electronic payments, then please use your treasurer handout and use the correct name on the check that you send me. Okay, so.
Sorry, Nikki, could I just ask one quick question?
Of course.
You've given the bank account number. Is that in the name of Rotary International District 1150? Is that what that bank account's name is?
Yes.
Sorry, because when you go to pay it, it looks to check it when you pay.
Right. No, that is what is on the that's what's on the bank statements that come in every time. I mean, I do a lot of banking within my business, and it should be now banks, the norm for banks, that when you set up a new payee, they should be checking the name of the account matches what you're saying it is.
That's why I was asking for it, because I'm a new treasurer, so I'm not sure if we pay by cheque or.
I see. Ideally, if you, as I say, if you have got electronic banking and you're happy to pay by bank transfers, BACS, whatever you call them, then that is ideal, and just use your club name. I don't need anything else, because I can calculate £270 that being 10 members, you know, myself. I'm not bothered about that. I'm just bothered about knowing where it comes from. So if you can do electronic, that would be great. But if not, the checks and the bank account is Rotary International District 1150.
No, I prefer to do online if I'm set up by then. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, welcome, and welcome to electronic banking. There's still quite a few out there that can't quite master it. Not their fault, usually down to the banks.
I used to work for Lloyds Bank
Ah, right, okay.
A
so
while
got
ago,
inside-
but I used to work for Lloyds Bank, so
inside information. Yeah, I know. I've set up quite a few payments because I've been making payments out. As you know, we haven't long had district conference, and I've paid out paid out to a lot of new people. And every time I set someone up, it checks what the information I've set up, and it sends me a text message to check that it was me that set it up.
just for security, it's
Yes.
quite good.
It is, yeah, but that is the norm. So it's good that it's being checked.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I've got on stop now. There we go. Yeah, so I've put up here the budget that we are currently in, and the budget for 23-24 for Mary that was passed in our last district council meeting. I've also put the actual figures up for 21-22 that have already been filed with Rotary with RGB&I. As you can see, that was Ray's year, and he had a £19,730 surplus. That was still part of COVID. So we had an online conference, etc., etc. That 19,000, you'll probably be pleased to hear, didn't go into reserves. We sent it to Ukraine. Ray was in charge of distributing that to clubs that I know had Ukrainians in the area for the children, for things for school and valuable items for them moving into new properties. As I say, those budgets should be familiar to most of you from the district council. If you want a closer inspection, you're more than welcome to email me. I'm sure it's what I call bedtime reading for you. And these are the balances at the end of last year. As you can see, we've got 55,000 in reserves, which is quite high, but it is slowly being eaten into. We had the £19,079 at the end, of which, as I said, 19,000 went across to the Ukraine fund. Ryla reserves at that time had 5,111, and there was 4,500 available for youth exchange that I know youth exchange hadn't happened for 3 years due to COVID. A lot of times I'm asked how much reserves should be. The reserves ideally should be 50% of your annual costs. So if ever anything happened to the district, we would owe some money out. Ours are obviously higher than that, but we're just carrying things forward from, we're carrying a lot of history behind us. Mentioned the district grant. We get sent this from RGB&I to help the district achieve their goals as per the budget, the items on the budget. There are no restrictions in place for district to use the money with the proviso of as long as it's passed obviously by district council, like budgets. And if someone comes along and wants something that's not in the budget, then they put a proposal to district executive. If it's passed by district executive, it then goes to district council. So throughout the year, things can be used outside of the budget, but it has to be passed in exactly the same way as the budget did. The grants, as well as the 543, it's actually worked out on the geographical extent of the district. Clubs to clubs, they call it an island. And fortunately, again, Steve Jenkins comes to my rescue on that one, because I don't know how he works that out and why RGB&I find it useful. So, but that's where they come up with the figure from that they give us for our grant. Okay, have to remind you about the banking arrangement. So apologies, this may sound a little bit like teaching your mother to suck eggs, but unfortunately, I do have to tell you. Okay, so any money that you receive should be banked promptly. All monies received from fundraising activities should be counted and prepared, ideally for banking by 2 club members, retaining copies of the count sheets and the bank counter files for future reference. So our paying in books to all banks, they are always duplicated, so the bank counter files are not a problem. The counting sheets, mine's via spreadsheets, and then I just print them out because I can do AutoSum. It's so much easier. But I do actually keep them for our club. And then you are also supposed to produce monthly reports to your club of all the monies received and what's been spent, and report those back to the club on a monthly basis. Prior to making any payment, the treasurer or another authorised official should receive authority to pay from 2 club officers. This authority can be done by hard copy or email or some other electronic means, and copies of the authority should be retained and filed for future reference. Monthly reports to the club should also be together with bank reconciliations. If you don't do the bank reconciliations, then the chances are you've probably missed something out, or you could miss something out on the monthly report that you send to them. Plus it makes your end of year a lot easier because you've done it on a monthly basis. The bank reconciliations that are prepared by the treasurer should be countersigned by one of the 2 club officers with oversight of the account. So what I do with my club is I send my report on to the president and the secretary before the meeting, and then they get back and they say, yep, that's fine. So that is my way of them sort of countersigning what I'm about to tell the club. And then clubs that use e-banking facilities or online banking as we know it, they are most often operated by one person. Therefore, they should ensure that 2 other clubs have oversight to the bank statements. So me personally, even though we have online banking, I still stick to having bank statements posted. So then they are available for the other officers of the club to see at any point. I usually just carry a little file around with me to each of my business meeting, to each business meeting that I do the report for. Those of you who haven't got internet banking, then this is just Lloyds. It's what I use. I know there's others of you on here. It is really, really easy. And I know more and more of you have done this now due to COVID. But it is, you get one of the little machines and a card. The card does nothing except live in the machine. So it's not a debit card or a credit card. You can't spend any money on it. It just goes in the machine. You sent a one-time passcode, and that is utilized then. It never changes. You set up your own password, and you're in. So, you know, if I can help anyone to register for online banking, then please just drop me an email, and I'm more than happy to have a Zoom with you where we can share screens, and I can help you do that. And I have done that in the past for some clubs. Okay, the RGB&I website, if it's working, we'll have to put that one in there, and Steve will probably agree with that one. When it's working, there are a lot of information sheets on there. So about charitable fundraising, and remembering that Rotary clubs aren't necessarily charities. Operational procedures for Rotary clubs and their trusts. there's information on club charities on there, on gift aid, and on street collections. I usually get quite a lot of questions about street collections when clubs are organising it. So the information sheets are on there as well. Okay, so clubs and trusts, as I said, unfortunately, I am not an expert, but this is what I think is an easy to understand few points. Clubs and trusts are totally separate to the club that you're in, even though it's the same club, the trust is separate. So they're independent of the club. The club officers may be trustees, but they don't have to be. They can be other club members because they will be become trustees in their own right. So the trust, it must have a trust deed, it must have its own bank account. It needs books of accounts separately from the club accounts, minutes of any meetings, etc. And all this is independently from the Rotary Club. So it's like a little mini Rotary Club within a Rotary Club, if you like. As I say, could have different officers, could have the same officers, but it is run totally separate, and it's reported upon totally separate as well. The club can advise or suggest beneficiaries, but the trustees are not bound to take this advice or the recommendations. You need to be, you need to, that line as to if you're fundraising, whether the club or the trust is doing the fundraising, that is really important to before you set out, because the monies are kept separate in separate bank accounts. That's why it's quite vital to know who is doing the fundraising, the club or the trust. And it's also advisable to have written agreements between the club and the trust as to how they will work together, like alongside each other, and where the responsibilities lie, and who with, I would say, as well. So that's just a little bit on clubs and trusts. If anyone does wish to form a trust within their club and would like some more information, as I say, my little person that helps me out there is Steve. So Steve and myself will be able to help and advise you through that time. Okay, so each year I get a lot of people sending me an email saying, can I have your the district bank account details, please? I want to send you my RF UK donation. As you know, we all make them every year from the clubs, and they want to send them to me. It doesn't come to me, it goes to RGB&I. Now, I know with my club, when I make the RF UK donation, I also send the annual website fees and any End Polio Now donations that have come in that I haven't already sent off. Now, all this can go on one form. It's called RF UK contribution form. Okay. And like I said, it means we can put everything on the one form. So that's our End Polio Now, any disaster funds, our annual website donations. It is all in one place, and it is so much easier because that form also gives you the banking references that RGB&I wish for you to use for the different sections of that form. I have access to that form. And every time someone sort of sends it, asks me if they can send it to me, then I will reply attaching the form to them. Otherwise, if I don't hear, then obviously many of us out there, as has been mentioned over the last couple of days, it's difficult to get officers at the moment. So I know a lot of you have been in place for a long time. But it is a really useful form. It's only been out a couple of years, so I get why some people don't know it's there, and I have it on file, happy to send it over. you will be pleased to hear that is it, because I know I've run over my time as